one of the most powerful lessons I've learned here in Hong Kong is that we can't control what happens to us, but we can actually control how we react to it. So why am I telling you this? So many years ago, I was here in Hong Kong and I did a talk and I completely flopped. I mean, it was one of my worst speeches I'd ever done. Okay, albeit it was one of the first speeches I did, but I stand here because I remember this exact street, walking down the street and just being so down with myself and just thinking, oh my God, like, why didn't the audience respond? Why didn't they, listen? Why did I not even get a standing ovation? So the key with this is to really make sure that, whatever you're doing, make sure that you are responding to the things in life with a more critical process. We expect things to just happen straight away and be great, but unfortunately, it's not going to be like that. And if I go back 20 years and I think, oh my God, like that time when I did that speech, and it was just around the corner, there was a big hotel here, and there was a lot of people, listening to this talk, but it wasn't connecting, wasn't landing. At that point, I actually thought to myself, should I continue doing this? Should I continue to do these talks? Should I continue to speak around the world? Should I continue to hone the skill? And at that point, my friend said to me, John, this is really one of your first talks. It's not going to be the best because you haven't had a lot of training in it yet. And that's when I decided to get training in speaking. That's when I decided to hone my skills in business, hone my skills in marketing, hone my skills in presentation and communication skills. And for a long time, I thought to myself, I wasn't good enough. For a long time, I thought I didn't have what it took to become an international speaker and fly around the world and inspire thousands of people live in person, millions of people online. And can you imagine, as I walk down the street and thinking to myself, I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, imagine how life would have been. So I'm telling you this because there are going to be things that happen in your life that you cannot control. And here's the thing. You might be thinking, well, John, you could have controlled it. You could have had more practice. You could have spent more time getting into it. Yeah, I could have. But here's what I think. I did what I had at the time to be able to get the result that I wanted at the time. For those of you watching this right now, we've got to think about different ways we do things. It's not what we do. It's also how we do it and how we respond to it. Like, look, all of us can drive a car, right? Well, most people can drive a car, but can we drive a car like Lewis Hamilton? Most people can buy a stock, but can we buy a stock like Warren Buffett? It's sometimes not what you do, it's how you do something, it's how you respond to it. So now my thought process is, whenever I do something and it doesn't quite work out, part of me thinks, you know what? I got to find out what didn't work. So I look at that process and I break it down and I take each part of the time and see how I can do it better. So for example, if I'm doing a talk and the audience is not responding, one of the things I do, I record my talks and I watch back through it and I see where the audience was engaged, where the audience was disengaged. And so I take those parts and then I find the parts that really work and then I just grow from there. A lot of the times you're going to be doing things that is not going to be the best for you, or it may not seem the best at the time. But sometimes, one door has to close in order for another one to open. And sometimes it's a kind of a wake-up call because then we have a lot of ego. Oh, we're already good at this. We don't need any training. I had a friend of mine, he had this really big gig that was given to him. And I said to him, you should really be practicing every single day. And for a lot of the times, they weren't listening. And they went on stage and of course, they too bombed. So if they'd have put more time, more effort in and more commitment in, would that have changed their life? Yeah, I think it would have. Because everything that happens to us in our life, we get a knock. And when that knock happens, it's almost like we don't want to be doing that thing anymore. And it kind of talks us out of it. It's literally, we could be going in one direction and something happens, sweep us off our feet, and we could literally go into the complete opposite direction. And that's why I want you all to pay close attention to the feedback you get from people. Sometimes the feedback's subtle. Sometimes the feedback hits you like a train. But we have to incorporate and we must be always wanting to learn more. The more that we learn, the more we earn. You've heard me say that many, many times. I learned that from one of my mentors, T. Harv Eker, and one of my earlier mentors, Richard Tan. If I were to say to all of you right now, whatever you do, you know that you're going to fail. Whatever you do, you know that the outside forces, you can't control all of it. But what you can control is how you respond to it. So some of the questions I ask myself is, okay, what can I do better next time? What happened in this situation that I could have prepared better for? How in this situation could it be seen from a different angle? Here's the thing. This is one thing I noticed flying around the world. I noticed that not all audiences are the same. Some of them respond differently to others. Some of them, they don't respond, but they're listening. Now, actually, there's some parts in Asia, some of the culture is they don't want to speak when the teacher is speaking. So if I say, does that make sense? Say yes, and no one responds. It's sometimes not with me. It's sometimes with the environment and the culture. So one thing I ask myself the question is, what more research could I have done to prepare myself better? So when I started listening to all this stuff that happened, I thought, oh my God, that's one of the reasons why they weren't responding to me. That's why I want you to start thinking about the things that you do and getting the right research, asking the right questions. When you ask a better question, you get a better answer. And don't beat yourself up too much as well. Because don't forget, we're all on a learning curve. One of the reasons why I created Success Secrets is when I ask people, what is your definition of success? Most of the time is to say it's something to do with money. It's never really to do with you or what you love to do. And what I truly believe that real success and true success is if you imagine Lego blocks, right? Imagine you got like 0 to 10 Lego blocks, right? Look at our health, look at our wealth, look at our relationships, our finances and personal growth. And if you put these Lego blocks where they are and you put a platform on the top of it, for some people it's not equal. It'll be like this or like this. It'll tip to one side. And by the way, I'm guilty of this as well. When I started in entrepreneurship, all I focused on was business, making money, driving revenue, driving sales. I didn't really celebrate my wins. I didn't really take time out to really enjoy fruits of the labor. I just kept going and going and going and going and going. And I don't want you to experience that. I don't want you to be in that, fall into that trap of that happening. So I want you all to start focusing on, number one, you can do better. Number two, the things that you've done that you didn't do well in, how could you improve on it the next time? And just by answering these questions, you get more critical thinking rather than beating yourself up thinking. What I'm asking all of you right now is that when you do it, expect those hits to come and expect to bounce back from it. Because when you ask the right questions, you get the right answer. And now I'm not thinking of it like, oh, I did this wrong. Now I'm thinking of how I can improve. And I think that's actually one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in the last 20 years is that everything I do, I am going to mess up. There are going to be situations that happen, but it's how I respond to that. I think to myself, okay, the universe is just giving me an opportunity to grow. The universe is giving me an opportunity to do something better and bigger for next time. If that something bad happens to you now, it's not always that thing that happened to you there. It's to prepare you for what's coming. And I know a lot of you can feel this. I know a lot of you can resonate with this as well. So I want you to know that everything will be fine. Follow the journey, trust the process, because that's actually what true success is about. It's about you not getting to the end of the journey. In fact, you should never aim to get to the end of the journey. I remember Matthew McConaughey saying who his hero was, and it was him 30 years from now. And then when he got to that age, it was another 10 years from. So it's really loving to love the process. So you grow with the process and ultimately you become the best version of you. I know all of you have a lot of questions on this as well. If you have any questions, leave a comment below. I would love to personally come and answer those questions. And if you know anyone who's beating themselves up right now, who really need help, do me a favor, forward this to them on WhatsApp, Instagram, put it on social media. Because if it's just one thing I say that can resonate with them, that makes them think differently, or maybe just makes them think that they don't give up, then my job here is done. I'll also link a video at the end of this as well, because I think that will really help you get started for a lot of you that are really stuck. But one last thing, and I do this all the time, whenever I am in a situation where I feel I'm stuck, I feel like there's no way out, the first thing I do is I write down who has been through the situation and who has come out of that situation and how did they do it. So I'll contact this person. That's why it's so important to have mentors and coaches. I'll contact this person and I'll ask them, hey, I know you went through this. How did you overcome it? And how did you manage your state? And I remember something in my business when I was going through a lot of this stress and I just talked to this person and said, oh, John, this is normal. The bigger you get, the bigger the target gets on your back. And when he said that to me, I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, a lot of you put stuff on social media and you're scared of what people are going to say, the naysayers, the haters. Well, if people are not saying or criticizing you, it's because probably you're not big enough, right? So it's actually, when that stuff happens, then it's a sign that your time is to shine. Make sure to check out this video here. I think you'll really enjoy it.